Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Bob's favorite comics, the SubGenius comic book, #1 from Ripoff Press. There was only one issue. This is from 1989, and it's got a lot of great stuff in it. It's a super rare comic. I just was reading on the internet. Apparently, most of the copies of this were burnt in a warehouse fire. So it's not like this is a beloved comic, a key issue or anything, but the cheapest price I could find was like $110. It's super rare. I had no idea. I've had this since it came out. I bought it off the racks. And it's got some just really amazing, twisted, fun shit in here. Covered by Paul Mavrides, kind of a high poobah in the Church of the SubGenius. If you've never heard of SubGenius, it's like a fake religion. It's a big joke, but it's basically an excuse for like artists and stuff to get together and, I don't know, have fun and make crazy stuff. But it's like a fake religion. That's how it's posited to the public. And over the years, they've put out many books, radio shows. They're all really clever, really interesting. Just a bunch of weird, creative people having a good time. So let's crack this open. We got a very typical like SubGenius rant here. And the first story here, which is Paul Mavrides, I assume, drawing, and Ivan Stang helping with the writing, or writing the whole thing. Because Ivan Stang can't draw, as we shall see in a few pages, but Paul Mavrides can draw the shit out of stuff. This is so good. So it's Care Dog meets P-Bear. It's almost like a little kid's book, very cutesy wootsy. And Care Dog is having a nice day in the forest with all his animal friends, and then he comes upon P-Bear, who's like howling in pain, and he's chomping at his own butthole. I love the juxtaposition between this like happy kid style, but then when he draws the bear, it's like gnarly, like underground cartoons, you know, but incredibly well illustrated. So I guess this bear has got these horrible ticks on his butt, and he's miserable. They're driving him crazy. And Care Dog is trying to say, oh, but there's poo on those ticks. You shouldn't be eating them. And the bear's like pissed at him. And he's like, look around you. The human beings, the real world land, he calls it. The humans of real world land have ruined the forest. There's toxic waste barrels just spilling out. He's like, we're all going to be dead soon. I love this version of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but they're riding like these My Pretty Pony unicorns. So the bear is just out of his mind, ranting. And he says, leave me alone. I'm out of here. But then he sees that Care Dog is crying. And he comes over and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Care Dog. Can you forgive me? And he says, yeah, sure. In fact, there's a present I want to give you. And P-Bear rapes him, anally rapes him. And it's raining and it hurts. I think it's like toxic rain. Acid rain, I guess they call it. Look how beautiful this illustration is. This is just... Paul Mavrides is going to town here. And now Care Dog is drawn in a much more like... not like a children's book anymore. And he says, maybe my death will be a blessing. Maybe P-Bear was right. This world is a, piece of shit. So the next morning, this van comes up, throws him in the back, takes him to the real world land, which is, the big city, throws him in a cage with all these other poor animals. And and then they gas them one by one, you know. But they say Care Dog was spared. He was the only one that wasn't killed. They take him to a laboratory where he's experimented on. He's got perfumes poured in his eye to see if they're, if they're harmful. It's just they torture him every day. He's a lab animal, you know. Finally, he dies, and they figure out a way to keep his brain alive forever. And he can't see, nor hear, nor smell, or feel. All he could do was hurt. So it's this living hell for Care Dog. And then it ends with, say a special prayer before you go to sleep each night. Pray that Bob Dobbs will punish the evildoers who did this to Care Dog. It says here, originally published in Bob's Big Book of Fables for Sleepyheads, 1943, which is not true. But, oh my God, that story. I remember when I picked this up, I was just like, what the fuck? This is insane. This is horrible. Good stuff, though. Oh, I should mention Bob Dobbs is he's like the god of the SubGenius church. He's the guy with the pipe on the cover. That's Bob Dobbs, if you don't know that. Here we have a fake advertisement. He might be a SubGenius. And these kids are about to pick on this nerdy kid. And this police officer says, hey, guys, you know, weird people. He could be a SubGenius, this kid. And you'd do well to befriend him and not beat him up. And, you know, you could ride his coattails to glory. So they go over to his house. He's got this amazing train set. He's got this cool laboratory. And then these doors open and these horrible aliens come out and kill these three bullies. This is by Harold S. Robbins, a great underground cartoonist. Didn't do much. But man, this guy could draw like a motherfucker. Like, such chops on this guy. Like, I'm sure the reason why we didn't see him in comics that much, I'm sure he was like in advertising or graphic design. I mean, he can draw anything he wants. Here we have a strange comic by Byron Werner, seemingly having nothing to do with SubGenius. It's just a weird story. And it's basically, we see this shadowy figure, a silhouette, and it's got a pipe. So I guess that could be J.R. Bob Dobbs. It probably is. And he's just telling this little parable about a hammerhead bull, how his rage was his downfall, a weird flying love manta, like a manta ray. That was so nice that it made it easy prey for hunters. And then a servo robot, who basically his one fault was if he tipped over, you know, he was useless. So he's just telling all these weird little creatures, these whoozits, you know, this parable, just like Jesus would tell those little parables. Some kind of SubGenius propaganda. This is credited to Lies, which I think is a pen name for Paul Mavrides. And this is, if it is, he's drawing in a very different cartoony style. And it's called Va-Va-Voom. Actually, let me check on that. There are some credits with everyone's nickname. Let me see. Yeah, I think that is Paul Mavrides. I like this cartooning style. This little egg hatches, and the chick has a weird head, like some kind of smarty pants. And he's going to drown him as an abomination of nature, and then he slips and falls headfirst into the bucket, drowning. And the little chick just says, va-va-voom. Here's a page by Carol Lay, the great cartoonist. Though I'm pretty sure she barely drew anything on this. It looks like this is a comic strip that she repurposed. She added new word balloons. Strange Golf Golf. And just see these two guys golfing, and this hand comes out of the golf hole. It's kind of horrifying, and sucks one of the guys in. And then it keeps happening over and over. And the guy got sucked in, now is out of the hole again. Pulls him back in. He's out of the hole. Then it grabs the other guy and chops his head off in the process. So this is how Ivan Stang draws, I assume. It also is credited to Zandy Smith with an X, who's a high potentate in the Church of the SubGenius. And these are just kind of weird gag strips. The essence of all humor, guy slipping on a banana peel. The essence of all horror, and this guy sees a monster and runs away. The essence of Bull Dada, which is a belief system held by the SubGeni. And I don't really know what the hell's going on. A monster slips on a banana peel. Or a guy slips on a banana peel and this monster just laughs at him. So here we have a totally repurposed comic. This is great. I think it's from a Mexican romance comic. Or one of those little digest-sized naughty Mexican comics that we've looked at on the channel. Like Las Chambeadores. But of course they made the word balloons different. So it seems like a world where the SubGenius are the predominant religion. This couple, the wife, is just like, oh, my husband isn't even, isn't caring. All he cares about is Bob. And she runs off to see Pastor Phelps, a Christian, and he's telling her all about Jesus. And how God sent his only son as a sacrifice. But really, they're just having sex. But while they're having sex, they're also having this religious conversation. So it seems like she's getting wooed over to Christianity. So the husband says, oh, I got you this Bob pendant to make it up to you. I want you to wear it all the time. So she goes to visit the pastor to have sex again and talk about Jesus, but it turns out it's actually a radio device, the Bob pendant, and the husband's listening in. So later on, when the wife comes home, he confronts her with that he knows that she's been having this affair with the pastor. I really like the art in this comic. The knowing Paul Mavrides, I wouldn't be surprised if he totally actually drew this in the style of some old Mexican comic. He's got that kind of chops, but I'm not sure, because they do like to do that a lot. The SubGenius comics will, just find an old comic and put new word balloons in. So he strangles his wife. Apparently in this world, it's not a crime to kill someone who's against the Church of the SubGenius. So he goes to the this big stadium. I guess Bob is going to show up. And the director of the World Bank is basically handing over the deed to Earth to Bob. The full ownership of Earth and everything therein is now in the hands of J.R. Bob Dobbs, first supreme overlord of the planet. But then, meanwhile, this lone gunman has got Bob in his gun sights, and he takes him out, shoots him in the head. The assassin escapes. And even though this is a SubGenius comic, he realizes that, I put my faith in Bob and lost all faith in myself. I should have been my own hero all along. And then he says, now let's pray. So I don't know if he's praying to Jesus. Just so crazy. I love it. This is kind of interesting. It's Jay Kinney, the great underground cartoonist. And I totally assume like this is an early Macintosh. He's experimenting with a drawing on a Macintosh. Not many artists were doing this. And it's just a bunch of kind of like SubGenius stuff. Kind of a few gags. Here we have a page by Gilbert Shelton, even though really it looks like he just took a photo and retouched it. But I like this. It's how to improve the Notre Dame. These arches, you just turn them on their side and it'll spell Bob. But that was pretty clever. All the saints, just put Bob Dobbs heads on all of them. Here's another so-called advertisement for start your own church, retire for life. This is by a guy named Puzzling Evidence, who I guess has been doing a radio show, a SubGenius radio show, of course now on the internet, for like decades. He's still going. I looked him up. He still comes out with shows every week. So it's basically advice to how to start your own church. The best thing to do is start a radio station, spin records, talk about anything that pops in your head, insult callers, and ask for money. They send it in. So if you're on the radio, it's like a gold mine. Here's a nice drawing by Robert Williams. It's got Coochie Cootie. Sodomite or saint, what does it matter? Because I'm up for any program. We see Bob Dobbs as Jesus and the devil. It's nice to get some Robert Williams art. Yeah, and an underground comic, and this is 89. That's pretty rare. He was already full on into his painting career. Here's another Harold S. Robbins story. It's beautiful cartooning. And it's a traditional SubGenius song. I guess Poe Bucker is some nickname for a SubGenius person. And it's just these silly lyrics. This is, I guess, like a hymn to the Poe Buckers. His neck is the one with the waddle, inflaming your desire. He's Bob. Bob don't ever change. He's Bob. Always will be Bob. Like these two women are just gobsmacked by his waddle. The woman's even thinking, that waddle. It's just beautiful cartooning. This giant shark with Bob Dobbs' pipe on it. Bob was around in the days of the dinosaurs even. Look at that illustration. I think Hal S. Robbins did do a dinosaur book. It was like we find out a little bit about the cosmology of the SubGenius. I guess he had a wife named Connie, and apparently she was just a prostitute who would just fuck guys for money while he was on the road, while he was doing his preaching and gospeling, his gospelizing. He visits Jehovah and beats him in poker. He visits hell. I like this in hell. We see the checkered demon hanging out with hot stuff. We see Hitler there, kind of pissed off. Bob whacks the devil on the head with a shovel. And he basically converts him to SubGenius thought by whacking him with a shovel. But then they talk about this guy Wellman shot down, assassinated Bob in 1984. I wonder if this song actually exists, if somebody's put it to music. And supposedly this giant flying saucer will come down and pull up all the faithful SubGenii and take them out into space before X Day. It's basically like their revelations. There's going to be some horrible apocalypse on, what was it, June 5th, 1989, I think it was supposed to happen. So we made it through, luckily. It's just great cartooning. Here's all the contributors. Almost all of them are using their, their nom de plumes, their SubGenii identities. Oh yeah, Paul Mavrides is lies. I was correct about that one-page strip. And we have a nice back cover by Hell Swami Satellite Weavers, another big SubGenius guy. It's pretty slick cartooning here. You can run, but you can't hide from X Day. Nice stuff. Just bizarre craziness. I wish there were more of these. There weren't. I don't think this sold very well. But it's a great comic. I hope you can find it. I know it's super rare, but who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if you went to a comic store and this was in the dollar bin. I'm sure a lot of people don't know how rare it is, because it's not even like the kind of thing that would be in price guides, so who knows? Good hunting, and I hope you find it, but it's definitely worth having in your collection. But I guess that's it. I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you here next time at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.